I want to apologize for the lack of video output, but I seem to have reached a conundrum. And that conundrum is something where it would be classified as desire for desire itself. And ultimately, I hope that somebody that's got a decent, possibly even a PhD level in psychology will view this video and help me to try and understand this particular issue. So, first, let's go over Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Let's get into it, shall we?
So we talked about before that there's 5 approaches in understanding motivation. And one of these approaches is called Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. And it's actually broken down into a pyramid. So it looks just like this. And it was created by a famous psychologist named Maslow. So Maslow said that we have needs that need to be fulfilled in a specific order. And it has to start from the bottom of the pyramid all the way to the top. So our most basic need is our physiological need. So this can include anything from food, water, breathing, sleep. All of these are essential needs to survive, basically. The second level is our need for safety. So safety of resources, safety of employment, safety in our health, property. So all of these are basic needs as well, but they can only be fulfilled when our physiological needs are fulfilled. So we call these 2 levels the basic levels. Now he went on to name a 3rd level, and this is our level of love, our need for love. Our need to belong, a need to have friends and family. So this level of needs is what we call our social needs. The 4th level is our need for esteem, self-esteem. So we like to feel confident and have a sense of achievement in what we do. So this level is called our level of respect. We like to gain respect from others when we reach this level. And the last level is called self-actualization. It's a big word, but it's basically our need for wanting morality, a sense of morality, a need for acceptance, and also creativity. So we call this our full potential. So think of this as climbing Mount Everest. You have to start at the bottom, but then along the way, you're going to have different checkpoints. Each of these checkpoints are managed by all the Sherpas on the mountain. You can't go from the bottom to the next level unless you check in with the Sherpa and he makes sure that you're okay, you've eaten properly, you're getting enough rest, and only then can you jump to the next level. Again, a Sherpa there at the higher level is going to check and make sure you're breathing okay, you're getting enough oxygen, and so on. So you get to the next checkpoint and the next checkpoint, and finally, you're at the top where you've realized your maximum potential. So this is called Maslow's Hierarchy of Human Needs.
All right, so before we continue, let me explain why I showed that Maslow's hierarchy of needs looked like a presentation from some kind of educational facility. So on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I've met the basic needs, the physical and the safety. The safety, for the most part, I have job security, which is not a job longing that I long for. which I'll get into moving up in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, the thing on the social aspect, which she calls love, I guess, but it's not just love. There's a lot of aspects to that one. Socialization is one of them. Feeling needed, wanted, accepted. This is something I have not yet obtained. I had a community of, like, in real life, not virtual, but in real life, I had a community of friends. I no longer do. I do have my family, but there's still, like, kind of this disconnect between with other humans and human interaction. So then we get to the emotional. And there is some lagging there as well, like the desire to feel accepted and appreciated for what I do. And I don't know that that's necessarily something that I've achieved, but I mean the emotional aspect. There are emotional aspects within the Maslow's hierarchy of needs that I have met. Then there's self-actualization, where you've reached your full potential. And again, that's only quasi. Because while I've achieved predominantly most of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's missing pieces throughout the way. And the self-actualization is, have I achieved my full potential? Only quasi. Only slightly, not really. I mean, some people would look at it and say, yes. But for me, personally, internally, no. I haven't. I have, but I haven't. It's complicated. And furthermore, let me go into what most psychologists will tell you to do when you've kind of reached that kind of point. They tell you to pick up a hobby or an active interest. And essentially, this is tapping into the reward center of the brain. Because when the pleasure center of the brain malfunctions, one safety mechanism that you can do is you tell the person to take up an active hobby or something that they enjoy doing, where the reward system will tell the pleasure center of the brain to reward you based on a job well done. However, in my case, that would be YouTube. And that is not a guarantee that I will be rewarded for that. It's not substantiated, like full proof, like this will pay off. You will get recognized, you will get some kind of appreciation on the level that you would expect or something like that. There's no guarantee when it comes to that. So the idea behind that is that when you reach the goal that you're going after with this hobby or this interest that you have, that the reward system will eventually kick in because you will complete said project and the reward system will go, yes, you did a good job, pleasure center, give him a reward, and flood the brain with dopamine and endorphins. So, this is part of the problem. Now I would like to explain to you what desiring desire means. Let's go into that right now. Shrink the screen and do something. Here we go. All right, so here I have a couple articles. This one, though, I really like because it really explains what desire is in an accurate form. He's from Psychology Today, Gallon, Gingrich, PhD. So here's what he says. As a culture, we've had ambivalent feelings about feelings of desire. From the very beginning, the Christian tradition generally takes a dim view of desire, mainly because it tends to focus on the ephemeral satisfactions of this world, variously termed the lust of the flesh or the pride of the eye, rather than the internal reward of the next world. Western philosophers, on the other hand, have generally viewed desire as a fundamental to human life. To be human is to desire what we do not have. And this is the important part. Desire motivates us in many important ways. Physical desire, for example, is called hunger or thirst. Intellectual desire is called curiosity. Sexual desire is called lust. Economic desire is called consumer demand. Remove these expressions of desire, and human life as we know it would cease to exist. Our culture in general and our economy in particular are built on our desire for things and experiences we do not have. The 15th century Indian mystic, I don't know how to say that, a poet and philosopher who today is revered by both Hindus and Muslims, argued that desire constitutes the true wealth of humanity. One of the leading 20th century interpreters of whoever that is, Kabir, was a spiritual teacher named, I don't know how to say that either, this. Oh. No, I don't want to copy and paste that. Who once explained in a videotaped lesson that his views desire as having 4 stages. The vast majority of people, this person says, are born with countless desires, too many desires to pursue any one of them with conviction or dedication. Most concern the superficial aspects of life, such as personal appearance or personal possessions. People who have many desires are the poorest of people, and they seldom achieve any success in any field. Their lives are also the saddest because they are the most superficial, dominated by too many desires that matter too little. There are other people, and he says, goes on to say, who are born with some desires, and these are usually people who lead what are considered successful lives, no matter what field of endeavor they choose. They manage to accomplish. People whose desires are few, in contrast, have passion. So, now let's see if we can go to the other one. The problem of desire. And this is by Psychology Today. This is Neil Burton, MD. He's a little bit more than a PhD. Desire derives from the Latin, I suppose this is said, desiderare, to long or wish for, which itself derives from desideri, from the stars, suggesting that an original sense of the Latin is to wait and what the stars will bring. According to the Hindu Rig Veda, 2nd millennium BC, the universe began not with light, but with desire, the primal seed and germ of spirit. Desires constantly arise in us, only to be replaced with other desires. Without this continuous stream of desires, there would be no longer there would no longer be, any reason to do anything. Life would grind to a halt, as it does for people who lose the ability to desire. An acute crisis of desire corresponds to boredom, and a chronic crisis to depression. It is desire that moves us, and in moving us, gives our life direction and meaning, perhaps not meaning in a cosmic sense, but, going back to Maslow's hierarchy of need, meaning to one's self. This doesn't say it in the article, but that's what he's getting down to. Meaning in the more restricted narrative sense, if you are all reading this article, this is because, for whatever reason or reasons, you have formed a desire to read the article. So what is boiling down to is that desire is something that motivates us. And when you lose desire, when you hit this chronic crisis of depression and boredom, you end up desiring desire itself. And he talks about that, I believe, a little bit. So what happens when you desire itself? You are wanting to be motivated. You are looking for something to long for. So without desire, you don't wake up in the morning and have like any kind of ambition to do anything. You have no desire. You have a desire for a desire. So you want to have that longing again, but it's just not there. That is what desiring desire itself means. Depression is a part of that, but not necessarily. So we'll continue on to this, and I'll explain why I'm making this video about it. Alright, so I'm going to try and sum up as briefly, but as thoroughly as I can, because I feel like this is important. And one way I could drive this home is that when you end up desiring desire itself, a person is more prone to doing things that are detrimental to their well-being or health because the pleasure center of their brain is still longing for that dopamine, that endorphin rush. And that person will do just about anything to get it, including promiscuous, unsafe sexual activity, engaging in massive overeating, particularly foods that are high in fat, salt, and sugar. Chocolate is a big one. Drug abuse. And this can even be illustrated. I saw in Real Rock, I think was I've got a screenshot here. There was the tragic thing of what happened with Korn, and also another screenshot from this. I'll leave the links to all of the articles and to these screenshots that I'm showing. This here, the tragedy of Slipknot. And the thing is the various members in these bands, more particularly Slipknot, there was something very intriguing about one of the members of Slipknot because he had a wife and he ended up engaging in promiscuous sexual activity, and he didn't even care that it was going to damage his life, as it were. He just wanted to feel something. And I have to re-emphasize that concept of wanting to just feel something. This is what happens when the pleasure center does not work properly in the brain, is that you become kind of a thrill seeker. The brain is a thrill seeker, like engage in gluttonous eating, engage in this sexual activity that could be detrimental even to your own well-being and to what you want as a person. For instance, in that case, it was damaging his relationship. Doing things that you normally wouldn't do, like going into abandoned buildings, committing theft, anything that would create a spike of endorphins and dopamine to which your brain will seek that out to no end and to like spare no expense at any cost to get the dopamine and endorphin rush that it wants, that it desires itself. So, as I said before, psychologists will often tell a person in this predicament to set a goal, pick up a hobby, an active interest. And then once you've obtained that goal, the reward center of your brain will tell the pleasure center of your brain to reward itself by inducing dopamine and endorphins. So it's a longer process rather than instant gratification. Although instant gratification relieves it very quickly, it is a very short-lived. Whereas the tapping into the reward center of the brain, it's a very long process, but the reward itself is more long-lasting. It just takes longer to get there. So, I would say that I have reached a point of desiring desire itself. When you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you hate your job, but hey, it's financial stability, so whatever. And you just feel like there's just, you have somebody, like a partner in your life, but you don't have a community. You don't have like a circle of friends, whether that be a large circle of friends that you know very vaguely, or a small circle of friends that you are very close to. Seems to be that people choose one or the other, but not both. That is a social life. That is something that I am missing. But it's that waking up in the morning and just having a sheer lack of motivation in its entirety. And so therefore, there's the question of, what do you do about that? When you've essentially hit all the stages of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and hit quasi self-actualization and full potential, but you still desire itself, how do you tackle that without engaging in self-destructive behavior? How do you how do you establish that longing for acceptance and reward or recognition for what it is that you do, and picking something that it is that you do that will achieve the very long-term and long-awaited reward that you're looking for the reward system in your brain to trigger the pleasure center to release the dopamine and endorphins, rather than resorting to instant gratification, which is usually very unhealthy and self-destructive. And that's the problem that's posed, is what do you do when you desire, but you don't know what that desire should be? I think I explained that pretty well. I hope I was very thorough in explaining that and what the conundrum is. So you have to find, so when you desire itself, you have to find something that you want to do, a hobby, an active interest, take up in it. But what if that active interest never ever taps into the reward system of your brain to tell the pleasure center to release the endorphins and dopamine? And until then, you're just living life of waking up, getting ready for work, going to work, coming home, eating, playing video games or watching TV, and going to sleep, rinse and repeat, where life has become a monotonous, tedious chore you really just don't want to do anymore and don't see the point in. Now, this is not a cry for help of saying like, hey, pay attention to me, oh poor woe is me, I'm so depressed, and that's not what it is. This is a very psychological question, and I'm looking for a medical grade response. What do you do when you've hit that point? And somebody had proposed to me that it's somewhat of a quasi midlife crisis. I'm only 35. I don't think so. I should certainly hope not. And I would be willing to bet there are many, many people in this boat. And so what is the resolve? What is it that you can do? Especially since all the mainstream medias and corporations are attacking this type of platform, making it harder and harder and harder for people of various trades and abilities to come on this platform on YouTube and offer and provide a service to a populace of people that can congregate around specific content creators that are dedicated to doing specific types of work. There was a free market going on this platform, and yet you have things like Patreon and PayPal and YouTube itself and Facebook and Twitter just taking people off because they don't like the ideas. And so ad revenue is scant at best. And it's like, we lost net neutrality in the United States. Hopefully we can get that back. And I absolutely do think that there needs to be kind of an amendments for online. Because it's like, okay, so you come to my channel and you don't like what I have. But there are people that do come to my channel and do like what I have to provide and offer. And that would be for them. So if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. So I don't see what the problem is. I really don't see the problem. Even in ad revenue. It's just like, just because an ad runs on a channel that the company doesn't specifically represent, I don't think anybody watches that ad and thinks, oh, well, they support this person's idea. Of course not. Of course not. That's what sponsored content is for. Like people who do vape mods and stuff, they advertise vaping products to reach an audience. That's sponsored content. So that's my personal issue. But I really want to know, what is the next step then when you've actively gone out and tried to obtain a hobby or an active interest, and the payoff just to tap into the reward system may never come? Do you just live life that way, like it's nothing more than, well, pointless, meaningless, and that the only reason you're alive is to satisfy the want and desire of others for you to be alive? And that's become the meaning of your life. Hence, I guess the desire is searching for meaning, purpose. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Like, share, subscribe. I tried to work very, very hard on this video because I wanted to be as accurate as I possibly could and explain it as thoroughly as I could, because I know this is very, very confusing. Believe me, this is confusing, and I am looking, I will accept non-academic responses, but I really would love to see an academic response. So like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to, and with that, I'm out.